Coming up on Sports Night.
The lacrosse team had some big matchups this week after their 5-game winning streak was snapped by Maryland.
The softball team took on some Big Ten opponents.
And sticking with softball, our Jack Lito catches up with some first years to get a closer look at the squad.
We've got a great edition of Sports Night coming up this evening. Emma, tell the people what we've got for them tonight.
We've got lacrosse, some softball, baseball, and tennis for you tonight.
All that and more in store because it's Sports Night
Right now. Welcome back to Sports Night, and thank you for watching. I'm Emma Steinberg.
And I'm Miles Miller. Emma, I know this is your first time on desk. Did you have any pregame jitters before your Sports Night debut?
I'd say the pregame jitters definitely hit me hard, Miles, but I'm feeling good and I'm happy to be here.
Well, a little advice from an old man like myself. Take a deep breath, take your time, and don't be afraid to have fun. One team on campus that's having a lot of fun is women's lacrosse. Huge top 10 matchup as number 6 Northwestern takes on number 8 Michigan Wolverines. Jill Girardi puts one in the back of the net to start things off. Izzy Skane finesses her way through 2 defenders and scores down low. It's all hugs as the Cats go up early. Claire Quinn does her best Ricky Bobby impression with the shake, the bake, and the finish. All tied at 5 at the half. Second half now, Izzy Skane. If some is good, more is better. She scores again. Cats down 1. Selena Lesota gets in on the fun and buries a shot in the bottom corner. Whole squad is lit because they just took the lead. Megan Kenna, man-up advantage, goes crazy and goes stupid to give the Cats a 2-goal lead. And to seal the deal, Selena Lesota scores again with 14 seconds left. Drive home safe, put the kids to bed. Cats win 14-11.
Now on to Notre Dame as the Cats headed to South Bend, Indiana against a top 5 team. Selena Lesota was on a mission this game, scoring in the first 30 seconds. 15 minutes later, with the free position shot, Lesota gets it by the goalie. Let's take another look. Now in slow motion, this is what helped her be the top goal scorer in Northwestern history. Cats won over the Fighting Irish 15-11.
And now we're joined by my friend Tim Hackett of WNUR Sports. It's good to see you, Tim.
Likewise, Miles. Thanks for having me.
All right, we got to talk about those 2 massive wins, both against top 10 opponents. Can anyone stop this team right now?
Well, Ohio State tried their best to stop Northwestern earlier this afternoon, but they came up a little bit short. They were tied in the first half about midway through, and then Northwestern only led by 2 with about 17 minutes to go, but then the Wildcats went on a 5-goal stretch down the stretch of the game to win the game fairly comfortably and finish the regular season at 5-1 in conference. Their only loss coming to Maryland, which you mentioned earlier. Right now, this team is on an absolute tear, which looks good for their prospects in the Big Ten tournament next week. They'll face Michigan again in the first round, and if they win that game, which is certainly no sure thing, they'd almost certainly play Maryland again in the second round, which it's proven to always be a very difficult battle for the Wildcats the last couple of years.
Now, the Big Ten Player of the Week awards came out, and for the second time ever, Northwestern swept all 3 awards. Offensive Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week, Freshman of the Week. Which award winner was the most impressive for you?
Well, first of all, just the fact that they have all three is extremely impressive. Like you said, that doesn't happen very often unless you're Maryland. It's just the second time ever it's happened for Northwestern. But easily the most impressive performer of those three is Mallory Weiss. Made a spot start against Maryland out of nowhere, was excellent against the Terrapins, was the reason they were still in that game. And then she took it a step further, helped them come from behind to win against Michigan, and was probably their best player, at least on defense, against Notre Dame. Made a career-high 14 saves. She's now got 4 straight games with double-digit saves. It looks like the starting job is hers again, which is not something that I expected would be the case earlier this season. The job is hers until she slips up, and I don't know that she's going to.
Okay, with all those impressive players and victories, what is the ceiling for this Wildcat team this season?
I think Final Four is the goal. They said that was their ultimate goal last year, Miles, and now that's got to be the goal again. But it's going to be difficult. I think Elite Eight is the absolute floor, and then the ceiling is honestly the national championship. I think they are a talented enough team. They've proven it that they have the talent to make that championship game. But what they haven't proven is the ability to consistently beat the top teams in the country. That win over Notre Dame was their first over a truly elite team this season. That has given me a lot more cause for optimism. But they've played the other 4 best teams in the country, and they've lost all of them: BC, Maryland, UNC, and Syracuse, and that's going to be the likely opponent in the Elite Eight for a spot in the Final Four if Northwestern gets that far. But Elite Eight, I think, is the absolute floor for this team.
Can't wait to see how the season plays out. Thank you again to Tim Hackett for joining us. Always a pleasure, Tim.
Thanks a lot, Miles. Pleasure to be here.
It may be spring, but we're still on the subject of football. As of Tuesday of this week, former financial advisor Matt Blazer testified that he paid between $300,000 to $300,000 to football players from several schools, including Alabama, Notre Dame, UNC, and our very own Northwestern. Blazer claimed to bribe family members as well as other associates of players from the early 2000s up until 2014. The trial was the second to result from an additional one, exposing basketball bribery as well.
And coming up after the break, we'll show you some streakers. Stick around.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Go Northwestern, break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for the sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back to Sports Night. We could talk more about your first time on desk, but you're killing it, so there's not much to discuss there. But this weekend is a big weekend for pop culture. We got Avengers, Game of Thrones. What are you looking forward to?
I've already got my tickets for Endgame tomorrow night. Not gonna lie, I only recently saw Infinity War, but I can't wait to see Thanos get absolutely wiped. Are you seeing Endgame opening night too, Miles?
Are you kidding me? I cannot wait. Marvel makes nothing but hits. And speaking of hits, boiling water, the Sahara Desert, the sun. All these things aren't as hot as the Northwestern softball team. Before facing off against Purdue this past Friday, the Cats had won 12 straight. It doesn't get any hotter than that. Or does it? Here are those streakers I mentioned earlier. Middle of a 3-game series against Purdue, women's basketball coach Joe McEwen tosses the first pitch against Purdue. A little bit of a shaky stance, pitches outside, but great try, coach. Cats would strike early on in this one. Morgan Nelson ropes a double to play Rachel Lewis. Next batter, Maeve Nelson, no relation, misses a dinger by about 2 feet, so close. Knocks in Morgan and knocks out Purdue pitcher Brenda Smith. Jordan Rudd knocks in Maeve later in the inning on this deep single. Cats would score twice more in the first inning. Now the Cats weren't done scoring. Morgan Nelson with a no doubter to left center. It looks like someone brought their rake to the park. Cats up 6 runs now. And Purdue would go on to put up 2 runs in the third. Kenna Wilkie came on in relief, getting a pop out here for the win. Next series was a doubleheader against the Fighting Illini of Illinois. Cats had won 15 straight coming into this one. Bottom third, no score. Cats load the bases on the Skylar Shellmeyer single, Rachel Lewis walk, and Morgan Nelson bunt single. But Maeve Nelson and Nikki Kuchrin both strike out swinging and bring up Jordan Rudd with 2 outs and the bases still loaded. Rudd smokes one in the left center for a grand slam, her second grand slam in 5 days, and that bomb puts the team up 4-0. Next half inning, Veronica Rulius sends a hanging breaking ball into the bleachers. Cats still lead by 2. And then in the 7th, Illini threatening with runners on first and second in the 7th, but Morgan Newport completes the 6-out save. Cats take both doubleheader games to make it a Sweet 16 in a row. Now here's one of the players to talk about it.
You know, we just talked about it in the outfield with the team. We have the bases loaded with no outs, and our 4-batter and 5-batter strike out, right? Or 3-batter and 4-batter strike out. And for us to have the balance and the poise to keep attacking in that moment and not let the momentum slip away from us, it was a huge moment for Rudd.
Up next, our very own Jack Lito gives us some background on the first years on the softball team.
Northwestern softball was an NCAA tournament team in 2018 and provided some of the most memorable moments in Wildcat history.
One run comes in. Here comes the tying run, and we are all knotted up at 3. With the bases loaded, winning run on third. That one gets away from the catcher, and the ball game is over. Northwestern advances.
But that team was gutted during the offseason, losing 7 seniors who combined for 207 hits, 102 runs batted in, and 54 stolen bases. But Coach Kate Jorhan replenished their roster with 8 first-years in Flow Softball's number 9 recruiting class in the country.
Were you expecting so much production from such a young group?
Yes.
Good answer.
The class lives up to Coach Jorhan's expectations. Pitcher Danielle Williams was ranked 44th in her class by Flow Softball, but today she's in the top 15 in the country in strikeouts, shutouts, and ERA.
As 3-time Big Ten Pitcher of the Week, Danielle Williams steals all the headlines from In the Circle, but Northwestern's foundation also comes from freshman production at the plate.
Freshmen account for more than half the team's hits and RBIs. And the formula seems to be working, as Northwestern is undefeated in Big Ten play this year.
I think every time the game and our program has asked something from them, they've stepped up. And what's been really fun for us as a program is to see how coachable they are and how invested in learning they are.
The 8 first-years come from 4 states, and they say they're like a family.
Honestly, I feel like even though we're all so different, I feel like, I know this is kind of cliche to say, but we're kind of like sisters. I feel like I could fight with someone or something, and then the next time I see them, everything's totally fine.
The team heads into the home stretch of the regular season atop the conference and ranked number 14 in the USA Softball National Poll. They're coming off a win against rival Illinois, their 14th in a row. And as for freshmen in the postseason, Northwestern has a pretty good history. Remember this play? That's Rachel Lewis, who in 2018 was a freshman. For NNN Sports, I'm Jack Lito.
Northwestern's women's golf ventured to Mainville, Ohio to take on the Big Ten's best at the 2019 Conference Championship. As a collective, the Cats made 15 birdies on the back 9 of the final round and finished 6th overall. Individually, junior Brooke Riley had a strong showing, shooting a 4 under final round and finishing tied for 8th. The Cats will next compete at the NCAA Regional in Cle Elum, Washington, between May 6th and May 8th. Be sure to check back with Sports Night to find out how the Cats did.
Last Friday, Jared Jones from McEachern High School in Georgia signed a letter of intent to join the Northwestern men's basketball team for their 2019-2020 season. Jones finished the 2019 season ranked number 2 in the nation by MaxPreps, helping his high school achieve an undefeated 32-0 record. The 6'10", 3-star prospect forward will add great versatility to the Northwestern roster. Jones will round out Northwestern's 2019 class alongside power forward Robbie Barron and point guard Daniel Bowie.
3-time All-American Jimmy Kennedy has been promoted to assistant coach of the Northwestern wrestling program. It was announced Friday. Kennedy spent the 2018-19 season as the Wildcats volunteer assistant coach. Kennedy has already helped lift the Wildcats in his year on the coaching staff, helping qualify 5 wrestlers for the NCAA championships and mentoring a pair of All-Americans in Sebastian Rivera and Ryan Deacon. NU had its best finish at the Big Ten championships since the conference expanded to 14 teams in 2014.
When we come back, baseball takes on Michigan State and UIC. Don't go anywhere.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back. Miles, I feel a lot better about being on desk. I feel like I'm really starting to get the swing of things.
Oh, I see what you did there. You said swing of things because we're about to talk about baseball. Maybe you are starting to catch on. The baseball team was on the edge of the 500 mark for the season coming into this week. They had a weekend series in Ann Arbor and a Tuesday matchup against a local foe in UIC. Let's see how they did. Final game of the series and the second of a doubleheader. Blake Nelson's solo home run off Tommy DeLise in the bottom of the second. Take another look as Nelson absolutely crushes this ball to put the Wolverines up 1-0. Later on in that same inning, Kristen Bullock hits a 3-run homer off Tommy DeLise. Tough frame for DeLise. Cats down 4-0. Top of the fourth, Ben Dickey gets the RBI single up the middle to finally get Northwestern on the board. Sophomore pitcher Jack Pagliarini came in on the mound and put in some work. Gets a strikeout there. Next inning gets another strikeout, and the runner gets caught in a pickle. Is eventually tagged out at second base. But this one was all Wolverines as Riley Bertram gets the pinch hit RBI double off Danny Katz, and Northwestern loses 10-1. Just a few days later, a midweek matchup with UIC looking to bounce back from that tough loss Bottom of the first, Willie Bourbon scores Jack Dunn on the single, slides into home with ease. Cats cooking against the Flames early. Next batter up, David Dunn gets the suicide squeeze, scores Goosenberg, and the Cats lead 2-0. Next play, chopper down the first base line. Cats can't get the force out of first, but Parker Hanks guns down the man running home. No, not in my house. Run that back, and you'll see again, Jack Anderson's got the horses in the back and applies the tag. Cats stay in the lead. Bottom of the eighth, Cats get some extra breathing room with this moonshot from Leo Kaplan. His first home run of the year, and the Cats in their 5-game skid beating UIC 6-1.
Now we're joined by Peter Warren of the Daily Northwestern. Thanks for joining us today, Peter.
Thanks for having me.
So firstly, how would you say the baseball team season has been going so far? What have been some high and low points?
It's been a good start for the baseball team this year, especially after a midweek game against Chicago State at the end of March. Since then, they've gone 11-7, and the real change has been moving Alex Arrow from second base to third base and putting Sean Goosenberg full-time at second base. The move has really spark-plugged the offense and the defense, and you've seen a lot of great wins for the team in that span.
Now in the off-field development, there's a proposal that could have a huge impact on NCAA baseball and softball. What's that proposal that was voted on last week?
So the proposal is NCAA Proposal 2018-34, which is going to make a third assistant coach become a full-time coach. So what that means is, how it works now is baseball is allowed 4 coaches. 3 of them paid, 1 a volunteer. This proposal would have made that volunteer coach from a volunteer to a full-time coach. And what that would have done is made the coach allowed him to recruit off campus, receive benefits, and as well as potentially get paid if the school could pay for it.
And that proposal was rejected, but do you think there's any potential for a return to the policy proposal in the future?
So just reported by Kendall Rogers that the NCAA cannot bring it back up to the Division I Council until 2022. But in the meantime, there are a lot of things that could happen, including scholarships, which is a thing some people, including Nebraska head coach Darren Erstad and Texas Tech AD Kirby Hocutt, both have said recently after the news came out they'd like to see pursued more. But I talked to Southland Conference Commissioner Tom Burnett last week, and this is what he said about the proposal. This issue won't go away. It can't go away.
All right, that's all the time we have. Thanks for joining us today, Peter. And if you want to see more of his work, check out the Daily Northwestern.
Switching up to the tennis courts, the women's tennis team had just one more match before they begin the Big Ten tournament. Could they finish out conference play with a W? It was senior night for the Cats this past Sunday as the Northwestern women's tennis team took on conference rival Penn State. In the doubles matchups, Northwestern was just able to squeeze by and get the point after the teams of Julie Byrne and Hannah McColgan secured a 6-4 victory. The other team to win were Clarissa Hand and Lee Orr, who beat their opponents in a highly contested tiebreak. In singles action, Clarissa Hand, Lee Orr, and Julie Byrne all said, "We can do it in a team, and we can do it alone," winning their singles matches respectively. The Cats would go on to win the contest 4-2, and are now 14-9 overall and 7-4 in conference play.
The men's tennis team headed to Minneapolis to face off against Minnesota last weekend. Let's see how they did. Cats upset a 37th ranked Minnesota team to close out their regular season. They clinched the doubles point with two on Chris Efron with Dominic Sterry, and Ben Van Dixhorn with Simon Brathwaite won their doubles matches. The Cats then jumped out to a 3-1 lead as Trice Pickens and Dominic Sterry won at numbers 6 and 1 singles respectively. Unlike so many teams these days, the Cats didn't blow their 3-1 lead, as Chris Efron clinched the match at 3 singles. The Cats are back in action at the Big Ten Championships in Ann Arbor this weekend, facing off against the Purdue Boilermakers. Coming up after the break, we take a look at the best plays in your favorite segment, Plays of the Week. Stay tuned.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Go Northwestern, break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back, Emma. We reached the end of the show. So, how would you sum up your first Sports Night appearance?
Not so fast, Miles. We still have plays of the week left.
Wow. See, you're already a Sports Night veteran. Let's roll the plays. At number 3, Selena Lasota blasted past Notre Dame's goaltender for the goal. Play was so good. We have to show it to you all a couple more times. Whew, what a beauty.
At number 2, first-year Jordan Rudd belts one to left center field for the dinger, and the Cats are pumped.
And at number 1, chopper down the first base line. Cats don't get the force out at first, but Parker Hanks guns down the man running home. You almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that. Well, that's it for this edition of Sports Night. For my partner, Emma Steinberg, I'm Miles Miller. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and as always, stay tuned for next week for Sports Night. Same time, same place. Also, I want to take a second to shout out my good friend and former Sports Night member, Jenny Haskell, who was one of 2 student athletes in the nation to get the Jim McKay Scholarship. Great job, Jenny. Proud of you. Have a good night.